that out. Man. Of course, when I would want to go live, my allergies or cough or something is acting up. I apologize for that if anybody is put off by it. I've got a little bit of a cough. It's not COVID, but some people are that way. So I think, goddamn, see? Alright, so I think what I want to do here is just put on some Fire Pro in the background and sort of run from there, I guess. I just unplugged my controller, of course, because why wouldn't I? Everything is going wrong here. Alright, there we go. I haven't played Fire Pro in months. Let's see here. I think mostly all I've got is my own guys, so we're just gonna sim some stuff here. Alright. I'm gonna have to adjust the levels, I feel like. Alright. That's really loud. Okay. Properties. Regular speakers, I guess. Okay. Hopefully those levels are okay. If not, let me know. And I do not need that loud. So, basically, yeah, I just want to sim some Fire Pro in the background while I answer any questions that might pop up. I don't know how many people. It looked like there was some interest in the, when I posted the thing originally. But we'll see who shows up and who's got questions, and I'll be happy to answer whatever. So, just shoot them to me in the YouTube chat, and I will answer them. Otherwise, I don't have much to say. Basically, I've been busy with lots of other non-Fire Pro related things, so things have kind of slowed down for me on the Fire Pro side. But I mean, I'm sort of running out of ideas anyway, and a lot of what people suggest are the sort of thing that would have been good for as a suggestion, like when I started on certain aspects of the mod pack or whatever. But usually what they want would end up breaking people's save data, and we're too far along for that to really be a thing that I want to do, unless it's for something like just super amazing that I don't even know how I didn't think of it in the first place, and I can't think of anything, that would be in that realm. Or the other suggestion tends to be for things that are just not possible. You get people being like, well, I want ladder matches, or can you put a Hell in a Cell? And it's like, nope, sure can't. No, it's not. There are no environments other than the ring. Fire Pro doesn't have any. They don't exist. If you wanted to green screen in an environment other than the ring, sure. But there's no environment other than the ring. Yeah, it isn't the game isn't equipped for that. I know that people have done really good job, of creating their set or whatever and green screening, but yeah, that's sort of a post production thing that you would have to do. Yeah, it's been a long time since I fired up Fire Pro and like actually watched a sim here. Yeah, the green screen mod should be available in the downloads section there on the Discord server. Um, it's not supported, but I nobody's ever really reported any problems with it or anything, so I don't think it should be too big of a deal. So I will be right back. My wife just texted me. I've got to take care of something super quick. So enjoy the sim in, I don't know, I want to say roughly a minute or two. Okay. Okay, sorry guys. I've got a sick pet, and my wife wanted me to get a picture for her so she could see how the pet was doing. So I kind of warn people in the Discord chat, but if you're not from Discord, I may have to get up a couple of times during this to check on our animule. So yeah. So let's see. There have been some posts in the chat here. What is one thing you wish was possible? Asked Pro Zombie. Um, I honestly don't know. I can't really think of anything that Fire Pro desperately needs. I don't really care for a lot of like gimmick matches and stuff. It's just not my thing. But I kind of wish that cage matches were a little better, just in general. Um, But most of the time I run them pinfall and submission anyway, so it's not such a big deal. But I do wish the AI used the cage a little more, like, you know. But that's not even impossible to do. It's just um, it's an undertaking, and it's one of those things that I just haven't done. But I can't really think of anything that I wish was possible that isn't possible that I feel like it desperately needs. Um, so, Lord 2NZ is asking, have you looked into the mesh replacements that Zinsky is playing around with? If so, how does it work? And would it be possible for something that you could have GUI file options for others to try? Um, sure, it's totally possible. The issue that I see with it right now is that, so he is loading an object. How his works is he's loading a mat. He loves those the ring mats in from Hurricane Hall or Kurakuen or whatever. Um, and so he loads the mat and then he replaces the mesh with something else. Um, that's very time consuming and just kind of a rough way of doing major changes to like an arena or something. So, while it is possible, and a UI could do it, I have a feeling that what would end up happening is that you would basically, um, you would run out of, you would hit one of those memory errors real quick if you started doing that en masse to sort of make your own arena. The game just isn't set up for that. So, I think it would end up being a bigger problem than it needs to be, especially since I don't know if you replace the mesh, and I'm sure that the mesh for the mat is not a highly, um, you know, I'm sure it's not a huge mesh, but I'm wondering about the disposal of the old mesh and everything, considering that the game has some issues with disposing of things to begin with. So I'm just kind of, I've been, it's awesome that he's doing it, and I'd love to see us be able to load things from scratch. But essentially, the way it works now is you're loading two objects or two meshes, and I think that that's going to hit memory issues real quick. So, yeah, because remember those, it's got to load the texture for the original objects. Again, the floor mats are not that big, but still, if you have a lot of it, it's loading that texture every time. Unity is not very good about, oh, well, this texture is stored in memory, so I'm going to pull it from there. It's just, if the texture is being called, it's going to load it on, if it's being called from a new object. So, yeah, it's really cool. I just don't know whether it's really practical is the word that I'm trying to hit here. So, but yeah, I've been following it, and I hope that he goes farther with it, and I hope we can figure out like an actual. Oh, I have this enabled. I'm rating my own matches. I wasn't even paying attention. Sure, I'll give it a 2-star rating. Dud. Oh, that's a percentage, not a star. I just gave that match a 2. um, so, but yeah, you haven't missed much so far, View. Basically, I'm just kind of noodling around with edits, and people are asking questions. You can look in the chat and see what's been asked. Well, I hope your wife feels better. But yeah, certainly don't sit here if you if you need to take care of your wife, because happy wife, happy life. So that's basically, like I said, that's basically Zinsky's method. It's really cool, and I mean, I haven't messed with it myself. I mean, but it's not. It's a surprisingly easy method as far as loading new stuff goes. It just isn't. Yeah, I'm just not sure of the practicality of it. He may have tested it more on his own, where he loaded large amounts of objects and just hasn't made any. He hasn't been around in a little bit now, so maybe when he comes back, he'll have some news about putting it through its paces. And if he does that and wants me to, I'll be happy to incorporate it with a UI or something. But until that happens, it's pretty much not something that's general public use. So, all right. So let's move on to another question, if there is one. And it doesn't look like there is. And you don't have to. No, the questions don't have to be about Fire Pro or modding Fire Pro. You can ask whatever, wrestling, Fire Pro in general, um, other video games, other hobbies. I don't care, whatever. Um, and while I appreciate all of the thanks, you don't have to start every introduction with thank you. I assume that if you're using the mod pack, you appreciate it, and my ego is large enough as it is. I mean, feel free to thank me all you want. I'm just saying you don't have to. How in the hell do I tolerate screamo? I think again, yeah, the same way that other people tolerate shitty wrestling. It's just you like what you like. Um, I don't really like what most people call screamo. Most of the stuff that I listen to that is air quotes screamo is just hardcore. That got tagged with that shit. If you know, I'm not really messing with too many other hacky things. Right now, I am employed by Retrosoft Studios, the guys who did Retromania Wrestling, and I've been working on that. I'm also working on some other stuff for like just personal projects. I've really been into the. I don't know if you all are familiar with it. I know some people are because we have a whole section for it on the Discord. But the Phil Singer games, wrestling card and dice games, I've been really into that. I've been working on a Legends of Wrestling Champions of the Galaxy sort of tabletop application, like a digital tabletop for, I want to say about 6 months now. And, that's been taking up a lot of my time just because it's sort of my new passion project. And then, like I said, I've got work and other stuff going on, but I don't really mess around too much with other video games, so I'm not hacking too much else. Not the one rule that I have for Ask Me Anythings is that they are not support sessions, so I'm not even going to touch that. If you want to post a bug report on the Discord, feel free to do that. It looks like you didn't patch things properly, but again, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure it out while other people are also in the chat, so go ahead and make a report and I'll get to it when I can. Who is my favorite current wrestler? I actually still haven't seen that yet. I've heard people talk about it like it was the second coming of Luthez, and I can guarantee you that it was not. But enough people have said that it was a good debut that I'll probably watch it just to see if maybe there's something I will enjoy about it. Who knows? Maybe I will. current favorite. I honestly don't know. I don't watch a ton of modern wrestling. I think everybody pretty much knows that. Um, I enjoy CM Punk. I think he's simple, and what he's doing is always been decent. I liked Walter. That stuff has always been really good. I don't think I've ever seen a match that I really dislike with him. There have been some stuff, I think in the, the Tyler Bate match where they did the fucking burning hammer and the guy kicked out of it. I was kind of irritated about that just because if you're gonna steal somebody's like unbeatable move, don't fucking beat it. That's just fucking shitty. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's just dumb. And it doesn't make you look like anything but selfish and self-serving. So, yeah, that kind of was annoying. But I would say Walter is probably my favorite stuff based on what I've seen. Is there anything the Fire Pro AI does that annoys you when watching a match? Yes. I don't like that they occasionally climb the turnbuckle and do nothing. I've been trying to fix that forever. I just can't. I don't know what's up with it. It's just baked into so many other things, or So I have no idea why that happens. They have checks for things that I thought maybe they didn't have checks for, and so I was trying to fix it that way, and I was like, holy shit, they actually have checks for this. It just, I don't know why it happens, but that bugs the crap out of me. I dislike it when people program their edits not to pin until late match. I know that, there's a subset of people who will basically never have them pin off of any move because they're afraid that if they do, then it might end the match prematurely before they want something to happen. And that bugs me, but that's more of a user issue than a AI issue. And I hate that, and the mod pack exacerbates this, and I admit it, especially if you're using move lists. But I fucking hate it when they Irish whip and then don't follow, like, just run into one another. Like, they just don't do anything. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Like a distance issue. With move lists, it happens because they calculate the distance and then I change the move. And I tried to minimize that so the move is changed before they change, or before the distance is figured, but it doesn't always work properly. I don't know why. So that exacerbates it a little bit. And then they just do it anyway. It's not all the mod pack's fault. So yeah, that one's a little bit on the annoying side. Other than that, I don't really have too much of an issue with the AI. I've been playing Fire Pro for 25, 26 years. And so, like, a lot of these issues have existed for, 20 years at least. So it's not like stuff I haven't learned to overlook. Yeah, I have like with the pin logic, Voodoo says he keeps it in the 10 to 15 range in earlier stages. And I do something similar. I put about 10 or 15% in pin on light and medium damage as well. It's just nice. When it looks like they're trying to win a wrestling match. I get why you don't put it in on critical damage or large damage or whatever it is. I can't remember whether it's large or critical when they're on the ground. I think it's large. But I get why you don't put pin attempts there and you rely on your priorities. But, yeah. I mean, the other thing is, like, I don't like it when people say, oh, well, if you they shouldn't be doing those type of moves, things like headlocks or chin locks, like late in the match. And it's like, I guess if you like wrestling from like the last 15 or 20 years, that's not a thing that they do. But if you like wrestling from any time before that, chin locks, wrist locks, arm bars, all of that stuff happened later in the match. So I do rely heavily on the mod pack's ability to turn off submissions on certain moves, because I feel like the workaround that people suggest, oh, we'll just turn it off in the logic, is fucking stupid, and I don't think it's a band-aid on a stab wound instead of being like an actual fix or an actual solution to that problem. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. But, I mean, if you're not playing with mods, then that's really all you can do. But, yeah, if you're playing with mods, have some submissions late in the match. It just makes it look better. Like, just turn off their ability to submit if you don't want them to submit. It's pretty easy to do. So, dragging from the ropes when they don't need to is pretty annoying, says View. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't understand why they do it necessarily. It's just like, well, I mean, I know why they do it. It's a simple check. Is this person near the ropes? If yes, then drag. They don't really have a whole lot of foresight into what they're going to do next. So, I mean, I get why they do it, but it can be annoying if, like, they drag somebody from the ropes and then stomp them. It's like, why the fuck didn't you just stomp them in the ropes, asshole? So, but yeah, that's kind of what I feel about that. Favorite event match you've seen live? I haven't been to a live wrestling. I don't like people. I don't know if that comes as a surprise to certain people. I'm plenty sociable, plenty friendly. I'm not, it's not like I'm pretending to be, some kind of edgy dickhead. I don't enjoy crowds of people. I don't have social anxiety or anything like that, but social irritation is a good way to put it. I don't like being around people, so I avoid events where I'm going to be around people. So I haven't been to a wrestling event, like a big one, since I was probably about 10, and that was like in 1991 or 92. And that, I saw some great wrestlers. I mean, I've seen Ric Flair live, I've seen Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I've seen, Ted DiBiase, I've seen lots of great wrestlers live, but they were always just house shows, so I can't really say what my favorite live thing is. It's like they were always fun. And I take my son, we've taken my son to some of the, I guess that's not true. We've taken my son to some of the WWE events that they've had here. And, they're always a good time, but I haven't enjoyed wrestling in years as far as like just modern wrestling. So, I don't think I can really answer that. I always have a good time, even when it's stuff I don't really enjoy. I'm completely new to modding. I installed a bunch of mods, and now I'm not sure how they work. I mainly just want guys to not retire in fire promoter mode. I actually don't think that that's a thing that you can do. They're gonna retire. It's an event that happens in fire promoter. I don't think that there's any way. I don't believe that I disabled. There might be a disable retirement check in there. Fire promoter sucks. Don't play it. It's not good. Use your imagination. There's no reason to play the mode. All it does is tack on a whole bunch of stupid fucking like half-ass like tycoon management shit. It's like fucking lemonade stand tycoon with wrestlers. Just play, run your Fed in your head. There's no reason for it. Let's see. I made a mod that just turned off rope dragging full stop because I hate it. Yeah, I mean, I honestly that is something that I've considered, but I mean, eh, I don't. It doesn't always bother me, so But yeah, using it with the pins and sigs in the rope, being able to actually cause a pinfall, like them ignoring rope breaks, sounds like a good way to avoid potential headaches. A more simple UI for the mod pack. No, I'm not a UI designer. I'm very open about this. I don't like doing UI design. I pretty much loathe it. And so it is what it is. It's functional. It works. I get that it isn't the most intuitive thing in the world, but the mod pack isn't open source. It's a one-man project, and I'm the man. And since I don't like doing UI stuff, I try not to focus on doing UI stuff. So basically, it is what it is. It works. But I feel for you. I do. I do understand that it isn't the most intuitive UI in the world because I'm not a UI designer. So, but you can ask questions in the Discord and just kind of, people will help you out. I know some people in the Discord can be a little snippety. You just kind of have to roll with it. It's one of those things that if I had the kind of foresight to see how big that this would get, I might have been a little more on top of it when when people first started showing up and getting snippety. But at this point, it's been going on for so long that it would be kind of pointless and whatever to try to stop it, because the people who get kind of uppity also tend to be the people who try to help if you have a legitimate question. So it's like I appreciate the fact that they're helping out when I'm not around. I don't want to punish them for sometimes being frustrated by people not following directions properly or whatever it is that set them off. So just ask and roll with it if people get a little uppity on you or whatever. Nothing personal. I don't think anybody says anything personally on anywhere. Thick skin, you got to have it if you want to be on the internet. It's not a safe space. Let's see. I am trying to find more questions. Do you have a favorite move maker on the Steam Workshop, or do you tend to make your own? No, I'm okay. I'm okay at, what is it, Movecraft now? I wanted to call it Wazamake. I'm okay at it. I'm not great at it, but I tend not to make my own. I don't enjoy it. I'm too much of a perfectionist to like sit there and do it myself, because I'll nitpick on little things and I'm not quite talented enough to fix all of the little things. So it just is kind of, I'm constantly in a cycle of being like, I'll never fucking use this. It doesn't look right to me, but I can't do anything about it. So I get a lot of my moves from Dakota or Bozo has made some good ones in the past, or some of the Japanese move makers that make the more simple moves. You got to remember that I like the wrestling that I like is from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. So I'm not looking for the fucking triple sow cow pile driver, fucking Psycho Devastation driver or anything like that. I just want simple shit, you know? So a lot of the Japanese move makers tend to be the stuff, the people who make those moves. I will say that I do get annoyed with the Japanese move makers who don't put video up or GIF of their moves. That shit is super irritating for me. And I mean, they have every right to do it. I'm not complaining. They can share what they want. But I'm not, I can't read their Japanese descriptions. And with no GIF or video, I can't tell what the fuck they are. I get annoyed with the English people who do it, the English-speaking people who do it too. So, just, if you're going to upload something to the workshop, that's a move. Capture a GIF. It takes 10 seconds. It doesn't, like, if you look at mine, they're fucking sloppy as hell. But they get, you get the idea. It's just lazy to not do it. So, yeah. That's kind of how I feel about that. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite move maker per se. I just kind of grab stuff from whoever does things that look interesting to me. Let's see here. Where was that? Why such a hard no on a brief rewind system? Impossible to do or just very difficult? Impossible to do. How would you do that? Like, the game isn't set up for it. It doesn't capture video, so you would have to write your own video capturing system. It has no means for playback of the video, so you'd have to write your own means for playback of video. Yeah, it just... Good lord, that would be a thing. Unity supports video, so it's not impossible to do. It's just, if you paid me a lot of money to implement something like that, I might take you up on it, but doing it for donations or free isn't going to happen. I mean, that's a major thing. That's something that you have a team of people do in a video game for several weeks full time to even get to a point where you can start testing it to see what needs to be done to it so that they can work on it full time some more. So yeah, that's just not something that's going to happen in FirePro. It's got a hard no because it's outside the scope of the engine. What happened with the seeding matches from 1.0? I could remember you could repeat a seed to rewatch a match. No, it works exactly the same way. The issue is that for some reason, Unity depreciated the set seed thing, and so now it doesn't work properly. So when you input the seed, it just doesn't it doesn't play the match with the same seed for whatever reason. I have no idea why it happened, but it's a Unity thing, not a FirePro thing. But technically, I should still be able to feed FirePro's match engine the seed and have it repeat over and over again. But the match engine uses the Unity random number generator, and I can't feed the seed to Unity. So, there's no way to get it all the way back to where it needs to go at this point. And that happened sometime during early access. That wasn't a like a 1.0 to 2.0 thing. I think I might have removed it in 2.0 when I redid some stuff, but it hadn't been working since sometime in early access. UI is such a chore unless you really enjoy it. I agree. And yeah, I mean, it's not so much that the stupidly, and I admit that this is not the best way to have done this, a lot of the actual game code reads from that UI, and so redoing the UI would also mean redoing a lot of the code. And so basically, the UI is what it is. It isn't. It isn't going to change. It's not going to be redone. No matter how many people ask to help with it, will it be redone, because it's not just a design element that needs to be redone, it's all of the underlying code and everything else. And so it would just be it would be way too tremendous of a chore to do that before you know I mean, Fire Pro is what now? It came out in 2017, so we're pushing 5 years. If it had been something that we undertook, 3 years ago or something, maybe. But at this point, it is what it is. No preview for moves is the worst. I agree. Yeah, View mentioned the original hard drive, the crash that I had where I lost all of the original mod pack code. I'm basically running, like, everything before a certain point is all disassembled code, and so it's messy and hard to read, and probably will never get changed or fixed. Like, if there's a bug or a problem in that code, it's gonna stay. I just don't want to fuck with it anymore. My ability to, like, it's not my ability to do it. It's just, at this point, most of that code has been thoroughly tested by the community. Bugs still might exist. Nothing is ever 100% bug free, but I think it's been tested enough that if any bugs pop up, they're really edge case. And I think most users, will be fine with me being like, there's not much I can do. Just, deal with it. Live through it. You'll be fine. But, so yeah, that's another big factor in dealing with some of the UI stuff. And a lot of that code is also attached to the UI. So it would mean, like, a complete... Did I not start this? It would be a complete rewrite of, like, an entire section of code. So, it's not going to happen. Do you have any links to the Japanese mod community, or have they reached out to you? I don't know. As far as I know, they use I know that there's a Japanese wiki about how to use the mod pack, and that they update it regularly when I do updates and stuff like that. I know that there are Japanese users in the Discord. Occasionally they will reach out to me. So I know that there is stuff over there. I don't know whether they're writing their own mods. I don't have connections in the community to be able to say one way or another. They very well could be writing their own mods, and we're just never seeing them because, they're posting them on Japanese websites and not sharing them or they're sharing them in the Japanese Steam forum, which, we can't read. I honestly wouldn't know. But no, I don't have any links to them specifically. I do know that, like I said, they enjoy my work. They definitely use it. I've been reached out to by them. But yeah, the stairs are where'd those stairs come from? Asked Fui. Yeah, no, the stairs are from Arena Edit. They were like, honestly, they were what I tested Arena Edit with. They were my testing piece, and they turned out well, so I kept them. I like them. I do eventually want to retexture them to be wooden, but I'm lazy, so. Who are these guys that you're using? They're just original creations. They're from, like, a fed that I created that's based roughly somewhere in the 1975, 1977 era range. Um, Pacific North Championship Wrestling is the name of it. But yeah, they're just original creations. They're not, you know. Some of them are on the workshop, but they all use the Modpack's full export thing, so that all of their custom moves and custom parts and everything are included with them, because I feel like that's more. I'd rather release them with everything for a smaller group of people who might use the mod pack than take all of that shit out and release them for a wider audience. Oh yeah, the running into the turnbuckle thing, that's been an issue since like, oh shit, I want to say like Fire Pro G, maybe even before that. Um, yeah, they like to run it. They like to do that where they'll whip and then run into the opposing turnbuckle, trying to bounce off the ropes. Um, the issue is that the turnbuckle pathfinding only works when they're just super close to the turnbuckle. And so there's no way to check if they're on a line with the turnbuckle without all kinds of incredibly complicated math. And I don't like incredibly complicated math, which is why I'm not a engine programmer. I'm a systems programmer sort of guy. I don't do the engine programming because I don't like a lot of complicated geometry and trigonometry and that sort of thing to figure out, you know, fucking Euler angles and positioning and all that kind of stuff. That isn't my strong point with programming for sure. But yeah, it's one of those things I looked into, but there's no efficient way to program it that I'd be willing to do. Like I said, it's a lot. It would be a lot of really complicated math and predicting positions and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it would be rough in my opinion, and I'm just not into that. At least he stopped himself there. But yeah, yeah, they're obscure because they're because they're custom wrestlers. Um, uh, my chest is just tight because I'm pretty sure I caught a cold. No COVID though, thankfully. We've been pretty good about that. Yeah, I haven't fired up Fire Pro in a long, long time. So watching these matches is just kind of um, definitely interesting. Just because I haven't seen them I haven't seen any of my custom guys wrestle in a long time. I've been too busy with my Legends of Wrestling stuff. Um, I'm. Somebody said someone's. It was Fui who said it, or I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm just gonna say Fui. But yeah, I think Lord 2NZ's mod at one point had them skirt around the turnbuckles and hit the ropes anyway. Seemed like an okay solution. Uh, yeah, but that would have problems in that every time you tried to throw somebody into the turnbuckle, they would skirt around. Like, I guess it would be the upper and lower. They would skirt around it especially if it's not intentional. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's not a great workaround because then turnbuckle whips are basically not a thing that can happen unless maybe you're on a diagonal line, because that would be a separate method that's fired if you're colliding diagonal. Apparently, the manager was really up on the ropes there, or up on the apron. DQ. We'll go with Count Rorschach now, and John Garvey here. I have those backwards. It's gonna bother me. I don't know why. The face has to come out of this side, and the heel comes out of that side. It's just the way it should be. And you're going to have to excuse me again. My wife is giving me a call here. So I will be right back.
Coming down the aisle, hailing from Houston, Texas, standing at 6 feet 3 inches and weighing in at 271 pounds, the Texas Redneck, John Garvey.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that one more time. I just had to take care of family stuff real quick. And let's see. Na. Yeah, Lord 2NZ gave his explanation for the not hitting the turnbuckle thing in his mod was that he was trying to make it so that you could change basic rope animations when hitting the ropes in barbed wire matches, but it had the unintended effect of having them skirt around the turnbuckles. I think I'll do maybe 2 more matches after this and then call it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Um, is it possible to set moves as taunts? Yeah, but here's the thing: if it has a like an opponent branch, it's going to animate that branch for the opponent. Um, so it's just kind of weird. Yeah, you could, but the issue would be warping and all that kind of stuff. So, like, if you set, let's say, you set a brainbuster to be his, like, post-match taunt thing, the guy would just kind of warp from the ground into brainbuster position when he taunted. I don't think anybody wants that. But yeah, I mean, if you want to fuck around with it, since you'll have some idea of what this means, wrestler param dot skill slot, and then just assign any skill ID to. I want to say like the victory taunt is slot 90. So just assign literally any skill ID will work in that taunt or in that slot. So just go ahead and assign it to slot 90 and you can see what happens. I could be wrong. It could have been one of those things that they have done some work to. I don't see why they would, but with the custom moves, they might have made some changes. It's been a long time since I've messed with assigning moves to the wrong slots. So, but it might be, if it's something you want to give the world or give a shot to, they certainly could try it. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, in previous versions, before really before it left early access is when I was messing with this. What would end up happening would be that when you assigned a move that had like an opponent animation branch to it or whatever to a slot where it shouldn't be, the opponent would just start that animation from wherever they happen to be. So, like you could set a grapple as a strike all the way across the ring, and the opponent would just start doing the grapple and the animation that the opponent does in the grapple as soon as the guy tried to throw the strike. So they would be literally like an entire ring apart, but animating in the same move. So it looked really bad and silly. I guess you could recreate some like Kenny Omega DDT matches or something that way, if you so wished. I'm not really sure why anyone would want to do that, but I'm not really sure why anybody would want to do anything with DDT or Kenny Omega, and people do, so, no accounting for taste or desire, I guess. Let's not get into my modern wrestling ranting. Come on, those are a highlight of these things. Sounds like a bad fighting game final boss mod. Yeah. Kenny Omega rules in my eyes. You, sir, need some glasses. because that guy is just a hack. DDT Universe is the best value for your money, I guess. Um, I I loathe DDT. It's no better than the deathmatch garbage shit to me. Um, it's just stupid, cheeky, fucking bullshit that I'd rather not watch. If you like it, you like it. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong for liking it. I'm just going to tell you that it's not any good. And good is subjective, so. Yeah, I know that they got Noah. Doesn't the same parent company own both promotions? Either way, I just Noah. Noah did do a great match last year. The Rat Boy versus whoever the fuck that guy was. I don't know. He's some Noah kid that I haven't been paying. I don't really enjoy. I haven't enjoyed Japanese wrestling since sort of the Nokiism era. So what was that, like early 2000s? I liked All Japan back in the day, in the 90s, and all 80s and 70s and 80s. All Japan is fucking great. 80s and 90s, well, 80s New Japan is really good. 70s New Japan is it can be good. 90s New Japan is kind of meh. It's okay. But 2000s was kind of where I drew my line with Japanese wrestling. It just early 2000s just kind of made it. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot going on that was any good. And then in the kind of later-ish 2000s and early 2010s, they basically started bringing in too many U.S. guys, and it started turning into fucking U.S. indie promotions with money. And then it started turning into U.S. indie promotions without money, and just got shitty. And no amount of Japanese indie crap is going to make it any better, if you want to like DDT and fucking Ice Ribbon and whatever all the other fucking tiny little bullshit promotions, that's cool. It's not for me, though. I don't enjoy that stuff. It's just not good. It's modern wrestling. It's moves for move's sake with no point. I just don't enjoy watching it. I do own a lot of 50s and 60s stuff. I have binders and binders full of DVD or DVDs. So yeah, I mean, I have more stuff to watch than I need. I can always go back and watch stuff. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by just blanketly writing off modern wrestling. And I do still try from time to time to check out stuff that people say who know my tastes say, like, well, you might like this, you should give it a shot. Every once in a while they're right. What is his name? DNMT, I think it's Dean or something, is his name. He recommended some stuff from Noah last year, that Rat Boy match that I was talking about, and that stuff is good. That match was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But he's also said I should watch some, lucha crap by guys that just suck, and I'm not interested in it. So it just... I'm particular. I like what I like, is essentially the best way to put it. Have you ever seen my Mr. Connor? Yeah. I mean, it's a Fire Pro edit. I'm not... It's got the big googly eyes, right? And it does mostly mat wrestling. And it's an edit. I don't know. I don't really watch other people's edits all that much, to be honest. Oh, I always forget I have to do this. It pops up that match rating thing because I have it patched in. I created that for somebody and left it patched in, even though like I don't know whether I really want to use it, but I was testing it and I've just left it patched in because I haven't been really playing very much. All right, we'll do one more. Or I said two more matches, I think, so we'll do two more. Where do you get DVDs of 50s and 60s stuff? Um, Around. I mean, I don't know. Some stuff I've found in like just talking to other people who like 50s and 60s wrestling. Old historians and stuff. And they'll be selling it. Some of it, like Jim Cornette has that. It's mostly 70s stuff, but it's like early to mid 70s stuff. That the lost Mid Atlantic tapes or films technically. That I have like all 22 DVDs of that. Buddy Rose was really good about filming his stuff in Portland, so he's got like a huge collection of tapes out there that I've accumulated over the years. And most of that stuff is from the 70s. The 50s stuff, a lot of stuff came from the Russ Davis collection, the Chicago, and then there was there's somebody who did a similar thing with L.A. When they were filming from the Olympic Auditorium, and so you get those, and yeah, you're good to go. And then online is great. It's not like I'm shitting on online too. I every once in a while I'll look up. I'll be like, I wonder if there's any matches that I haven't seen by this guy, or So yeah, online is a great resource as well. But I definitely don't just get stuff online. I definitely have a lot of DVDs as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Sheik book. I want to read it for sure. What is his name? Brian Solomon, I think, is the guy who wrote it. He was just on the 605 as a guest host and doing, he talked about the book and stuff, and it was really interesting. I guess he's doing a podcast, he'll be involved in a new podcast as well at some point in the near future, so. So I can't talk a whole lot about what I'm doing with Retrosoft. It's not my project. I'm just, Mike hired me. He's the guy who runs Retrosoft for other stuff. And other stuff is sort of on the back burner right now. And so he asked if I wanted to help out with Retromania, and I said sure. So, it's really not my place to talk about what I'm doing there. But I am working on some cool stuff for that. Nothing that's like gonna blow the game wide open or anything, but stuff that I think is cool, like little polish things and little, just little things that sort of put you into the mood, I guess. And the fixing of bugs. Because if you have a job as a programmer, you're fixing bugs. It's just what you do. Like 90% of that job is 90% of any programming job I've ever had is fixing bugs. When you create stuff, you spend more time fixing bugs than you do creating it. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm being totally and 100% honest, Retromania wasn't really my thing. Mike is a hardworking guy, and he wants to make it the best he can, and all props to him for that. Um, I think that it's a fun, like, I've been playing it a little bit now that I've been working on it. I didn't own it before he asked me if I wanted to help out with it. And it's a fun game, but it's a little too simple for me. And he wanted it that way. It's not like I'm knocking it for being simple, and it's supposed to be this deep, simulation. It's not. It's meant to be, WWF WrestleFest updated. And so, if you think that that's something that you would enjoy, it's fun. I mean, you pick up, you can play it. You don't have to put any real thought into it. You can, it's a little more nuanced than WrestleFest as far as like the input schemes and everything. But it's still easy enough that you could just kind of pick up and play. And if that's something that you would enjoy, then go for it. I'm certainly not here to talk you out of it. But don't get it just because I'm working on it and you think it's going to become some deep Fire Pro simulation, because it's not. That's not what Mike's goal with it was. So I'm not gonna try to add things that take it away from what it was supposed to be or anything. So. But yeah, I think the biggest disconnect for me is that I don't have like the nostalgic. I was not. I didn't play video games a lot as a kid. Like I did when I got into my teenage years, and I got a PC. We got a PC when in what 19. I want to say 1994. And I was a teenager then, and I played lots of PC games, but really, like, unless I was playing like Tecmo Bowl with a friend or something like that, or I didn't play a ton of video games. I was told to go play outdoors, and that's what I did for the most part. So I don't have that crazy like nostalgic connection to retro or to WWF WrestleFest that other people do seem to have. So it's it wasn't a game that I was like, oh, they got to bring this into the modern era. It's cool, but it's I don't have that connection to it. So maybe that's what's lost on me. Maybe that's why I'm just like, I mean, it's a fun, simple little game, but it's not my thing. But people who grew up with WrestleFest and like actually played it are probably more gung ho about it, because that's sort of the spirit that he was going for. And I know some people say that he missed the mark, but I played WrestleFest. Don't get me wrong. Like I played it as a kid. I mean, it was around, and every once in a while you'd dump a couple of quarters into it, but it wasn't like I was playing it religiously or anything. And I think from what I remember of WrestleFest, he captured that perfectly. It's just without that nostalgic connection to it, like a good part of the appeal is kind of lost. This match has been very long compared to some of the other matches. I guess the two guys I had matches with two guys who like to get disqualified before this, and they both did get disqualified, so that might have had something to do with it as well. Have you ever checked out Josh Barnett's Bloodsport series? I watched, I think, maybe the first one. I don't know. It just... I don't like MMA. Like, I know that, that people find that surprising because I'm constantly on about, like, how ridiculous modern wrestling looks, and, you know, it's not that it's not that I want everything to look like it's possible to do in a real fight. I want things to look like they're not choreographed. Um, so it's like, I think Bloodsport errs a little bit too much on the MMA side for me. Um, and, uh, that's why I like 50s and 60s wrestling. Is like, it's still possible to do things that aren't 100%, that wouldn't be possible to do in a legit fight, but it isn't so choreographed, and they're still concerned enough with making it look legit that there's nothing that looks like, they spent a bunch of time discussing it before the match, figuring out how they're going to fucking bend to avoid this, and, like, that's the shit that kills me when it's just like, modern wrestling to me looks like a floor gymnastics routine. Like, straight up, it does. It doesn't even look like like they're competing in a lot of cases anymore. It looks like a dance or whatever, where they're hitting each other. And it's like, the appeal for that is not there for me. What's one thing you would love to mod into Fire Pro but probably won't ever add or can't? I'd like new arenas. It's simple, but, if I was gonna add anything at this point, that's something that I would want. That seems to be the more interesting thing for me. You want it to make sense in regard to wrestling. Yeah. And somebody else said, Kill said, you basically like it when two guys go out there and feel the crowd and work from that. No. Because I feel like there are some times when even modern guys do that, and it still ends up being trash. I like it when they're concerned with making it look legit, when that's a goal that they have, like an obvious goal where they're not cooperating. It isn't about spots, where they're more worried about working a believable match and with psychology and less about getting pops. That's the thing now, is that matches are all about the Instagram spot or the gifable move. And I don't care. I'm not interested in how many flips you can do. I'm not interested in how many times you can be fucking dropped on your head. I don't give a fuck. That's not interesting. If you wrestle to just do moves, I don't like you. I don't want to watch you. You're boring. I'd rather watch Johnny Valentine work a fucking armbar or a headlock for 5 or 10 minutes than watch the modern wrestlers do fucking 50 to 75 moves in that same fucking 10-minute period, and none of the moves mean anything, and they're just, you can tell that they're just doing pre-planned spots, going from one spot to the next, and selling only matters when the move is done and it's part of that spot. And then as soon as it's their turn to do their shit, the selling no longer matters, and they're just gonna do their shit. And to me, that's trash. It's not, the art is lost there. It is dancing. It's a floor routine at that point. There's no artistic. Yeah, gymnastics, exactly. There's no art to it anymore. It's just gymnastics. It's just who can do combat gymnastics. It's who can do the most flippy impressive looking shit to one another and get the fans to go ooh the most times, or get gift the most times, so that they're fucking uploaded to Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And it's who cares? There's a reason why, people will ask me, like, oh, what's my favorite match of, like, the last 10 years? I don't fucking know. And you know why I don't know? Is because they're all so fucking, it's all fast food. It's all fast food. There isn't a match that stands out in the last 10 years where I'm just like, well, goddamn, that was an amazing, they built up to the match, they told a story, the match was fucking fantastic. It doesn't happen anymore. It's all throwaway, consumable shit, and they all feel like they have to top it the next time they're out there, and it's like, it's garbage. It's just meant to be consumed and thrown away. So, that's kind of where I'm at with that kind of stuff. I just don't enjoy that stuff. Yeah, Mid-South was good stuff. I enjoy Mid-South as well. No, I wouldn't say that nothing in 10 years has caught my attention. Like, there are matches that I like, but is there anything... Like, and so I'm a big fan of metal. I've been a metalhead for 30 years, roughly. And I feel the same way about a lot of modern metal albums. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not bad. It's not going to offend me, but how much of it will actually stand up? Like, I still will hold, the first Slayer album, Show No Mercy, as being like a fucking masterpiece. That album came out in 1983, so that was like almost 40 years ago. And so you go from that, like, are there any albums coming out now that people are going to be talking about in the same regard 40 years from now? And I don't think so. Because people don't consume things the same way that they used to. And bands aren't creating stuff for people to consume them in the way that they used to. It's all just what's popular now. Bands are going to jump on that, they're going to do it, and then they're going to fade out when that's not popular anymore. And I've seen it a million times. And so what you end up with is a bunch of stuff that's passable. There's nothing, it doesn't offend you, it doesn't hurt your feelings. It's flavor of the day, but there's nothing that anyone is going to remember in, 20 or 30 years when they're, showing it to their kids or, whatever. I mean, I don't even know what you would, it's just not going to be the same. So, no, I would disagree with that completely, Voodoo. Like, as somebody who grew up, so I didn't get into it when it was, I'm not from the 80s. I was a teenager in the mid-90s. In the mid-90s, saying that you listen to death metal or black metal, especially black metal at that point, black metal blew up in the late 90s in the US, got really popular in like 97-ish with Cradle of Filth and stuff like that. And, but if you were listening to it before that, like I was, saying that you liked that shit was like saying that you liked to suck shit from someone's asshole. It really wasn't popular. The internet has just blown that completely to shit. If you think it's underground now, you have no fucking idea. Like, you're a baby. You have no idea. You have no context. You have no historical knowledge. It's not. This is the most popular or acceptable that metal has ever been. I'm not even trying to single you out and being a dick about it, but there's just no other way to put it. Like, you have no, that's just complete ignorance. That it's a complete inability to understand, like, how it used to be. And even when I got into it, it was more acceptable to like the sort of nastier side of metal than it was than it was in the 80s even. If you were trying to show people Sodom in the, when they were doing fucking In the Sign of Evil or something in 1984, there's a good chance that they were going to try to fucking commit you, you know. And I'm not kidding. Like, there was a good chance that your parents were going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with our fucking kid? He needs help. And it gradually went from there to being like, well, that kid is just retarded, you know? And that's when I got into it. That was what it was like. If you told somebody you liked metal, and not just like Metallica and Megadeth and that kind of stuff, if you told them that you listened to death metal or something, they just assumed that you had fucking mental issues or something. And that, I mean, it sounds funny now because metal is so acceptable now. But literally, that's the way it was treated, you know, in 1994 or 95 by the masses, by the general public. So, anyway. Favorite band. So, I always find this hard to answer when somebody asks me about, like, my favorite band, because it's so, like, if you ask me to make a list of 100 bands, the list probably isn't going to change that much as far as like what bands are on it, but their positions will change based on what I'm more interested in listening to, you know, at the time that you ask me to make the list. Generally, I tell people when they ask that my favorite stuff is Blasphemy. I've always loved Blasphemy. They're a great band. I'm glad that the internet fucking did wonders for their popularity, which is good. You know, I think they deserve it. But yeah, they were definitely not a band that you trying to get people to like that kind of stuff, like in the late, like, so I remember, I was in probably 11th grade, so this is probably about 97, 98, yeah, about 98-ish. I was, you know, Cradle of Filth had blown up, with that, what was it? It was Dusk, or, yeah, Dusk and Her Embrace was the big thing, and that had kind of turned a whole bunch of people onto black metal. And black metal was supposed to be this symphonic fucking shit with, you know, female operatic vocals, and, you know, and if you listen to black metal for any length of time, you know that that's kind of not true at all on any level. I mean, that's one sort of niche corner of the genre, or the subgenre, or how, you know, that's a little niche corner of it, but that isn't like what defines a black metal album. And so people who would be like, oh yeah, I love black metal, and, you know, they're talking about shit like, you know, Cradle of Filth, and the other one that I used, god damn it, they did this on Carven. Oh, fuck me. They were so bad. Dismal Euphony. Jesus Christ, so bad. Anyway, you know, if you were trying to get people like that to listen to like black metal, like Impaled Nazarene, or Bestial Warlust, or you know, even Samael before they started going weird and electronic, you know, trying to get them to listen to fucking Blood Ritual or something, or even fucking Bathory, you know, like getting one of those kids to enjoy fucking The Return of Darkness and Evil was like pulling teeth. You know, there was just such a weird. They would like black metal, but only the really fucking commercially stuff. And, you know, I'm actually not hating on, like, I like Cradle of Filth, their early stuff, you know, and I know that that's a thing that people say, but I honestly, like, if you were around when that early stuff was coming out, no one disliked it. And I know it's cool to, like, hate on it now, if you're into that kind of, if you're into black metal, they're an easy target band. But no one was hating on it when it came around. It was unique and different at the time. And so people were like, oh, cool, you know, whatever. And then it just it snowballed out of control and started spawning all of these fucking Napalm Records fucking female vocalist, vampire black metal bands that just eat a complete asshole and there's just no value in them whatsoever. And then, yeah. So, But anyway, this all stemmed from my favorite band. But yeah, Blasphemy. And the whole point of where I ended up was I remember telling people to check them out like in the later 90s when that sort of Cradle of Filth stuff was super big and just getting the most confused fucking looks from people who were like, what is this? But now they've got their dues thanks to the internet. That's one thing the internet has been pretty good for, is just exposing people to bands that they might not have otherwise been exposed to. Oh, there are so many that are bad it's good. Jesus Christ. Me and my friend Ben, Ben is he's a real life friend of mine who we hang out and talk about metal a lot. We're both super fucking nerdy about it. And he randomly found this band, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name. It's like In Titan Woods or something like that. But it is so bad that it's good. Like, it's impressively bad. You should probably give it a listen. I'll try to find it and I'll post it in the Discord when I do. It won't be right now. But yeah, it's impressively bad. All right, we're gonna do a tag team match here, and then I am gonna call it because my voice is starting to get shot between having a cold and and talking into the mic here. Did you enjoy the Norwegian scene? How did you get a hold of records tapes in the 90s? Ours were mainly through independent record stores. Yeah, I like the Norwegian stuff. Especially back then, it wasn't as copied as it is now, or as it became. My first exposure to this stuff was probably, I want to say 1994 or 95. And so, yeah, I mean, you get stuff like like that early Emperor stuff, and early Mayhem before they went and turned into a fucking garbagey weirdo band. And yeah, you get that stuff and it's great. You got Fimble Winter and, but I think the big thing now is that it became so copied that people, it just like Cradle of Filth, it's an easy target band. They're popular enough that they're easy to find and get into at this point, and they're copied enough that they sound generic. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see them. And so people shit on them, but if you were there at the time, nobody was shitting on them. That's the thing, is like, again, it's the whole context thing. It's easy to shit on stuff when the internet exposes you to fucking the most absolute underground, 25 cassette tape fucking black metal band, instantly, and you didn't have to rely on some of the more popular bands or whatever. So, and I did a lot of tape trading, both with wrestling tapes and with music. I dubbed a lot of stuff and traded it away. So that was how I spent most of my teenage years, is dubbing and trading tapes. So that's how I got a lot of stuff. Something on the wind compels me to ask about Foxy Boxing. I don't even know what it is. No, it's not Carpathian Forest. It's it's a one-man project. It's not let's see. I mean, fuck it. I'm gonna I have a thingy open over here. Let's see if I can find them real quick. I know I've posted them on my Facebook. So let's see if I can find them way back on my Facebook wall real quick. Now I'm kind of curious to what it is. I wish there was an easy way to just kind of go back on Facebook. Let's see here. Oh, so much stuff on here. That's pretty much all I do on Facebook is post music, so it's like I have to just scroll through endless music videos. This is not gonna work. Let's see. Let's see if I can find them on Metal Archives. Alright, I'm going to give this a couple more seconds and then I'm going to call it. I, for the life of me, can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember, unfortunately, but they're really bad. I'll find them and like I said, I'll find them and share them. They're silly. Female boxing in bikinis. Is that Foxy Boxing? I don't know. I have no clue what Foxy Boxing really is, or don't have any interest in it. Pacific North Championship Wrestling. I'm not from the Pacific North or the Pacific Northwest. No, I'm in New Mexico right now, and originally I'm from New England. I just decided to place my promotion here in Fire Pro. So, yeah, I was gonna announce what I wanted to work on for Fire Pro at some point today, but I never ended up doing it. I guess I still could talk about it. So basically, I fucked around with the Kevin Done Me fucko kind of joke button, but the joke button actually has a pretty good way of switching camera angles on the fly, and it got me to think about people who run their crazy little e-feds, on Twitch and YouTube and all of that stuff. And wouldn't it be interesting or cool if they had like a kind of a full Fire Pro based production suite where they could put images on screen or tags or whatever without having to use the without having to use either post-production software or the streaming or the capture software. So I was thinking about creating an overlay with some that would overlay the Fire Pro screen that you could manipulate by adding text or images to it and that kind of thing. And it would also include the Kevin Done Me fucko camera stuff so you could switch camera angles easily, that sort of thing. So basically a Fire Pro production studio sort of thing. and that's one of the things that I want to work on in 2022. Um, it's basically the sort of the last hurrah, I think. I mean, it's not like I'm giving up on the mod pack. I'm literally out of ideas. I have no fucking idea what else to do with Fire Pro. Um, I don't play it a whole lot these days. Um, I've I've done everything that I want in the game. I don't even know what vmix is, so if if that's what it sounds like, maybe I don't know. But yeah, I just I, I'll always support the mod pack and make changes that people request or whatever if they're a good idea. But I'm also at a point where like I really don't know what else to do with it. Um, I don't really play it a whole lot. I do. Oh, OBS, yeah, sort of like OBS, but just for Fire Pro. And I mean, you could use it while you're playing just for yourself without having to record any video or anything as well. Um, you know, Basically just to make you feel like more of a producer while you're simming your matches or whatever. So, but yeah, I get most of my wrestling gameplay stuff these days. I've been um, since about 2016, maybe the end of 2016. I've been playing the Filsinger Games Legends of Wrestling card and dice game, and that's been my main thing. Um, it started slow, and Fire Pro was still my main thing, but then sometime last year, really, my focus switched, and I got way more interested in the card and dice game than Fire Pro. And so yeah, I kind of had just a switch of interest, and so I'm like, I don't know what else to do with Fire Pro. I don't enjoy. I mean, I've been pretty honest about. I don't enjoy playing Fire Pro. I think it's a fucking shitty game if you're controlling the wrestlers yourself. It's not a very good engine for that. Um, but I do still enjoy watching Sims, so it's like um, and I'll probably never not enjoy it on some level. But yeah, my focus just kind of changed. And I mean, and just with video games in general, like I don't play video games very much. I just don't I don't enjoy them that much anymore. I like programming. Um, that's a lot of fun for me. But actually, like playing games, just I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me that much these days. Um, I need to get into this, but I'm probably going to go digital. I'm assuming you're talking about the Phil Singer game stuff. um, you could you could go digital. I'm not a big fan of their digital platform. I've been pretty outspoken about that too in that community. Um, I think that there's a lot of stuff that it needs, and the digital stuff that I created, sort of as my hobby project, is not public and won't be public. Yeah, I hate TEW. It's trash. It's just one of those games that it's so boring, just unreasonably boring. I'd rather drop my nuts on a belt sander than play that shit. It's ugh. No, I'm still trying. With in regards to the medical marijuana. Honestly, like I I'm so sensitive to whatever it is, and it causes me to have panic attacks. So I'm trying to keep it on the low. So yeah, every once in a while I'll have like a little bit of an edible or something, but I still am not big on the weed. Um, I don't know. I mean, is there really? Um, the Filsinger game, like, so Grant's, I don't know if you're part of the Filsinger community or not, but Grant's Discord is, I think it's got like 100 members, you know? It's not like a big thing. Um, and, you know, I'm not shitting on his Discord. I enjoy being part of the Discord over there. I just think, I think that, like Fire Pro, the Filsinger Games thing is something that people do by themselves. You can play it multiplayer. I just don't feel like a lot of people do. So that's kind of why I wanted, when I sat down and started like making a program for it, I wanted it to be offline and something that one person could do, because I feel like that's how most people play their promotions. I feel like they're just sitting down and they're rolling their cards out, and they're doing it for themselves. It's not a multiplayer thing. And so that's kind of what I went for. And I know that the current online thing has the whole like this session is just for me option, but you still have to be online. And that just bugged me. And plus I do not like their so it's a hobby to me. So I buy the physical cards. I like the cards. I collect them. It's a hobby. I don't like the fact that if I want to play digitally, I have to re-buy those same cards digitally. That bugs me. I think that's... Everyone that I've talked to from Filsinger has been great. I'm not trying to like shit on any one of them individually or anything like that. But I think that's a shitty business model. You know... I feel like you're double dipping, and I get that it's a niche community and they need money to, you know, even more niche than Fire Pro by a long shot, and that they need money to put into keeping the servers online and bug free and, well, air quotes bug free, and all of that kind of stuff. But I also feel like they're not going about it the best way, I think. So I don't know. Yeah, do you actually play Legends or Champions? But yeah, they have like a service that they do that's digital, and that I'm referencing, that is just, I feel like it could be a lot better, and that's kind of what I set out to do, is a single player version of what they've got online. So, but yeah, I've never really thought about using Discord for any of it. I honestly, Discord is great for chatting. I don't really see that much more potential in Discord. So, I mean, the app is fairly complete. It's just not... It's not done. It's fairly complete, though. Like, the game... All of the game rules are in there. I'm just... I'm a constant... I'm somebody who tweaks on things for forever. Like, if you... You know, if you give me a project to do, I'll tweak that project until you take it away from me. Essentially, or I just run out of things to tweak, which is kind of what I was getting at with the mod pack. It's like I've just run out of things that are reasonable for me to tweak at this point. So, and so I still suggest the pen. You're talking about the vape pen for the weed stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I'm against smoking stuff in general. I don't like it. It's never been my thing. I abhor Cottonmouth more than just about anything else in the world. Like if my nose gets stuffed up, I will breathe through my stuffed up nose before I'll breathe through my mouth because I don't like getting my mouth dried out. It's just it's an absolutely unreasonable feeling for me. Like I can't handle it. It's just not something I will deal with. So just the idea of smoking stuff is not. It just I can't do it. So edibles are pretty much how I have to go about the medical marijuana. Well, thank you. Like I said, I feel like most people who use the mod pack appreciate it on some level. So it's not necessary to tell me my ego is already large. But I do appreciate it. On a pole, no, not really. On a pole, matches would not be possible in Fire Pro. For one, because they would require additional models, which we can't put. I mean, somebody asked earlier about Zinsky's method of replacing the mesh with a new mesh, and it's like, yes, it's possible, and he's shown that it's possible to do, but it's not very efficient. And I'm sort of waiting to see if he puts it through its paces before I do anything with it, because I feel like it could potentially have issues. You can go back and listen to that part of this if you're interested in what what I think the issues might be. But because of the fact that it would require new 3D models or new assets, as well as a way to interact with those assets, it's just like a ladder match. It theoretically it's possible if you wanted to do a lot of work, but the work that it would require a modder to do is not worth it in the long run. It's just not. We're not being paid for it. You wouldn't use it regularly enough to make the amount of work that you would put into it worth doing. So that's kind of the match on a pole thing. It's just like it's literally a ladder match as far as like like from behind the scenes, like what it would entail. Like I know that they're different matches and everything, but like what the programming side of it would look like, they're exactly the same. A new object that then required new mechanics. Oh no, it's fine. Nobody asked about that specifically. I'm just saying, like, somebody asked about changing, like adding 3D models to the game, and so I commented on that, which is something that would need to happen for the on the pole match. Why would you need to change the stuff for? I mean, you want to change the controls for chaining moves, but why? What's the, like, what doesn't work about it now? Because it's essentially the same thing. It's just using the D-pad. The human centipede. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of the human centipede. I think that me and my wife watched it. I think it came out around the time that me and my wife met each other, I want to say, or maybe a little after that. And I think that we watched it just out of curiosity at some point. But now I'm looking it up. Yeah, 2009, so we had been together for a couple of years when it came out. But what about the human centipede? like I said, I'm pretty sure we watched it and didn't find it particularly compelling. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you in wanting more of the old school match types, maybe. But at the same time, like I'm also, I also the limitations of Fire Pro being a '90s, basically a '90s Pro engine is, I mean, it is what it is. So it would be nice, but it probably isn't going to happen. To have it more like WWE 13, changing from wrist lock to waist lock, I don't need it to be like WWE 13. It wasn't my goal to make it WWE 13. So I'm just, yeah, totally possible. Um, I still don't see what good that would do. Like, what's mechanically, what's the difference? That's what I'm trying to ask. Like, I get that, you might be more familiar with it there, but you'll get familiar with it in the other place if you use it. So it's not like mechanically, like what's the benefit to moving it to something else? Would it be possible to add delays for Um, yes, I'm pretty sure that's actually already in for Yurk or the gym. You have to use the it's and again, this is because I'm not a design sort of guy. I'm but it's part of the entrance alternate and title attire mod. If you assign an alternate attire with an entrance attire, you can actually set their delay time in small venues, which is the gym, Yurk, the training center, and I think that might be it. But yeah, so it's already there. You can already do that. I mean, so the other thing I guess I should note about that is, unlike the other venues, those venues they don't have anything to hide the wrestler. There's no, like screen like there is, like in when you set them to have a delay in, um, uh, what is it, Big Garden. They stand behind something that is layered in front of them, so you don't see them. They're still there, but you don't see them. With York and all of those, they'll just stand there for that amount of time before they start heading to the ring. You can't hide them. Disabling them would cause all sorts of problems with the update frames. So you couldn't really just disable them wholesale. There needs to be some wrestlers there for it to loop through. Otherwise, it'll get mad at you. So yeah, it's possible, but it may not do exactly what you want in the sense that they're still going to be on screen. They're just not going to start heading to the ring. So no, what you're suggesting is totally different than what you're suggesting in that second post, where you say how they have chaining sequences, instead of it being a move, make the chaining part more like the MMA play. But I see what you're saying. Um, what you're suggesting there is a complete rework of the system, where you basically would have like a specific move that could then chain into other moves, but that's not real. That wasn't really what I was going for. Like, it doesn't. I didn't want it to be pre-canned like that, I guess. Basically, you can chain off of anything that loops, so long as you want to make the animation for the next move. So, that's really what, like, the benefit of doing it this way. So it's up to you to make the move. If you want it to chain like that, there's no reason you couldn't do it with the current system. You just have to make the hub move in Movecraft. and then all of the chains would start with the first frame that you put in the hub move that would start the loop. So I mean, what you're asking for is totally possible, and what buttons you press doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Um, you could put it on the right stick or the the D-pad, and it would do this. It'll do the same thing, provided you want to do the work to set up your custom chains correctly. So, I mean, unless I'm missing something there, like I have nothing against the WWE games. I actually enjoy playing them more than I enjoy playing Fire Pro when it comes to like actually just playing a game with a controller and actually controlling the wrestlers. But I don't play them very often. They're just, I mean, if I'm gonna do a wrestling video game, I just go for Fire Pro and I sim, and that's what I do. But um, yeah, unless there's something I'm missing because I'm fairly unfamiliar with WWE 13. Man, these guys are killing one another. Have you modded WWE 19? No. I have no interest in modding the WWE games. They're I can't they're not disassemblable in a way that would make them open to modding in the same way that Fire Pro is. So they don't really have any appeal in that section for me. It's like you can mod them by doing simple texture stuff and whatever, but I don't give a fuck about any of that. That's not my thing. I'm not an artist. I don't do any texture or modeling or anything like that. I just that shit is just not for me. So without the ability to being able to actually go in and program stuff, like the appeal of modding the WWE games just is not there. I did write some tools for WWE 2K15 when it first came out for the PC. Things that would allow you to swap save games so you could have more wrestlers and that sort of thing. Or more of the, because I think they only had 25 cost slots or whatever the fuck. It was ridiculous. So I did some stuff with that, but I didn't, like mod the game outright. Oh yeah, oh yeah. One of the masked heroes have some back hair. Any good black metal bands that I like? There are lots of them. Um, how long do you got? What kind of stuff are you looking for? Let's start there. Do you think Fire Pro should drop another game, or do you think... No. I think if they're going to work... If Spike Chunsoft wants to work on wrestling at this point, they either need to do a new game, and a modern one, or they need to rework something like the King of Colosseum engine. Fire Pro is great. I love Fire Pro. But Fire Pro has reached the pinnacle of what you can do with Fire Pro at this point. So yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why they should release a new game. We can add parts, we can add moves, we can add wrestlers, we can add rings. I mean, I guess we can't add arenas, but I don't know what the, like, I can't think of anything that a new game would do. It would essentially be Fire Pro World 2.0, which is already Fire Pro Returns 2.0. So you'd basically end up with Fire Pro Returns 3.0. And yeah, I can't think of any reason that we should like think about or even want a new game at this point. Like there would have to be some reason for it, I think. And I can't think of one. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I feel about it. You could tell that the director was very passionate about the game, but no one else working on the game was really that. They didn't care. It was a project that they were doing, and they'd rather get back to Dragon Ranpa or whatever the fuck Spike Chunsoft does that makes the money. you know, um, so yeah, you could tell that um, it was basically not a like a passion project for anyone but the director, basically. And so, yeah, without that passion, don't bother. It's not what we got is good enough. Um, I got all night. Hit me with the good stuff. What kind of stuff are you looking for? Like, give me some examples of bands that you like, so I have a starting point. Um, why though? Why do you want tables and ladders? Like, how would that improve Fire Pro's engine? Like, I get that there are common things in modern wrestling, but Fire Pro doesn't really simulate modern wrestling very well as it is. The engine is really not very good for anything but sort of 90s era Puroresu. Maybe some like basic lucha stuff, but it doesn't do a good job with modern wrestling. Um, so what do you really like? What would benefit from having tables and ladders in the game other than just to have them? And if it's just to have them, I don't know. So you're looking for more like of the tremolo picking standard black metal stuff. Um, okay, that's cool. I can recommend some of that stuff. So let's see. I'm gonna make sure that this is not a question. Then I'll answer your black metal question there. Yeah. See, spots. And how good would the spots really be in a 2D fire? I mean, if you think about Fire Pro interactions with just about anything else, and tell me that you think that they'd be any better for those things. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming from. They already don't interact with the cage very well. They don't interact with weapons very well. They don't interact. I mean, even in the death matches, they don't. You can whip somebody into the barbed wire ropes, but that's the only interaction you've got. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't see them doing a good job with it. Fire Pro wasn't focused on that, and I don't think that just throwing them in there would make it any better. Like, if they had made a concerted effort to improve the weapons and sort of specialty things that they had, I'd say, cool, yeah, maybe they should have considered adding that. But at this point, it's all just fluff. It's there because it's been there, and when it was there in Fire Pro, G or whatever, because I mean I think G was the one that introduced the exploding cage, and that's all the barbed wire ropes match is. It's the exploding cage match. They just skin the cage to look like fucking barbed wire instead of a cage. There's literally no difference in the way that the match works. And so, yeah, I just honestly, I don't. I think it would be very, very underwhelming and more detrimental than positive. That's my opinion. All right. So on to black metal now. Um, I would highly recommend the band Thule, who did, I think they did 2 or 3 demos. They're from Iceland, mid to late 90s. Um, they did an anthology CD that blackmetal.com put out, I think, in the late 90s or early 2000s. I think it was 2003 that the anthology CD came out. Don't know how hard it is to find. Very good, though. Um, Cavum, who did this an album called Natter in 2012, or Nature. I don't know how to pronounce it. They're from Norway, way way up north. Um, they did, yeah, that album is fucking incredible. Definitely worth it. If you don't mind a little bit of sketchiness in your black metal, Nordvreed, which has got members of Cavum, is also very, very good. They are a little bit sketchy on their anti-Islamic politics. Um, if that's going to be a turnoff for you, then probably avoid them. um, I've been around metal long enough that it's impossible to offend me with a shitty opinion, so I'll listen to whatever. But yeah, so that's worth checking out. I think that Confrontation came out in 2015. That's a really good one. Their first album was called Hammer Prophecy. That was really good. Um, let's see, I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Fimbulwinter, which is pre Demuborger, I guess. They don't sound anything like Demuborger. They're more traditional black metal with less of the fruitiness. They did a demo called Servants of Sorcery that got reissued on CD and has been bootlegged a couple of times. That's definitely worth it. And let's see, I'm just trying to think of other bands that probably no one else is going to throw your way. I'd give those ones a whirl first. And then, if you need more, you can. Oh, December Wolves from the U.S., if you're into that kind of stuff. They did a demo called Wolf Tread in 1994. That's great. It basically sounds like Graveland in the U.S., so really good. And then they did an album called Till 10 Years that was also pretty fucking good. I think Till 10 Years came out in 96. Definitely worth checking into. Some of those guys went on to play in bands like Watchmaker and Trap Them. Trap Them sucks, though, so just kind of pretend that they didn't go on to play in that. But Watchmaker is great if you like grindcore. So yeah, those are my recommendations. And I'm sure if I was to paw through things, I could find more stuff. I have lots and lots of stuff. I just they're on CD shelves in the other room, and I'd have to actually go look, and. All right. Since I'm still talking, I guess we'll do one more. After this match, I really do have to go, though.
Coming down the aisle from the X. 6 feet and weighing in at 201 pounds. Former collegiate wrestling champion, hailing from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Dale Castle.
The ridiculous British announcer that I've got.
Coming down the aisle from the X. 6 feet 2 inches and weighing in at 240 pounds. From Austin, Texas, the PNCW television champion, Buddy.
Alright. Seems like people are running out of questions, too, so... The next month... I never really announce updates. They tend to come out monthly. My guinea pig is having a fucking fit over there. So... Hey. Quiet. You've got food and water. Stop yelling at me. Anyway. So I never really announce updates. I announced that I want what stuff that I'd like to work on. There was one thing, like a sort of a production suite that I had mentioned. But there'll be a bug fix update, I'm sure. I want to say around Christmas time, maybe probably a little before or after Christmas. Once it gets too close to Christmas, I'm not going to release it, but it'll be either shortly before or shortly after Christmas. There'll be a thing that any suggestions that people have made that I've implemented, like the small quality of life stuff, that'll be in there, and the bug fixes. I tend to do them once a month, but I don't really announce anything. So you like the Black Doom, huh? You could hear the guinea pig, the cat could hear the guinea pig, huh? Yeah, he got mad at me for a second. I'm not really... He yells at me, so he gets this... It's like a blend that's got these pellets in it, but then it's also got like seeds and nuts and dried fruits and that sort of thing. He will pick through his food and eat all of the seeds, all of the nuts, all of the dried fruits, the dried veggies, and leave the pellets, which is the majority of the food, and then get mad at me that he doesn't have food that he likes. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's yelling about, is he wants me to go give him more food even though he's got a bowl full of pellets. So he can eat some of the pellets, because he will, if I wait a day or so before I feed him again and he just has the pellets in the bowl, he'll eat them. He just likes to yell at me about wanting other stuff instead. He's spoiled. Black Doom stuff. I'm trying to think of any other Black Doom stuff that I have really been into lately. I can't think of anything, really. I tend not to enjoy the Black Doom stuff. I mean, every once in a while there's a good band that does it, but Doom in general is not my thing. Slave Crushing Tyrant, I guess, is pretty good. They're pretty slow. I don't know if I call it Doom, though. They're just kind of slow and mid-paced and heavy. Although, again, if you have a problem with sketchy stuff, you probably want to avoid Slave Crushing Tyrant. Yeah, see, now he's realized he's not getting any other food, and he has calmed down. So does anybody have any suggestions or anything for things that they'd like to see that aren't um, outrageous? 1 a.m. here in Sweden. Well, thank you for staying up till 1 a.m. to listen to this. I can guarantee you it wasn't worth it. Get some sleep, man. But yeah, if anybody has any suggestions, I always ask for suggestions at the end of these things. Um, it doesn't have to be major or anything like that, but anything that you could think of that you'd like to see. Uh, you know, Suggesting things like, oh, I'd love a Hell in a Cell match or Elimination Chamber is just going to get ignored. But, I mean, realistic suggestions will be considered. There has been a surprisingly small amount of questions about actual wrestling this time. Usually, y'all take it upon yourselves to get me all worked up about actual wrestling, and this time there was a little bit, but it was minimal. I love that animation for that sleeper. No, I mean there is. You could. It has some options like text size and um, shadow and the outline color, the text color, all of that kind of stuff. But I don't think that there was. I didn't say big reveal. I said I was going to tell people what I was thinking about working on. I got nothing to reveal. I haven't had time to work on anything Fire Pro related in ages, outside of small bug fixes and things. Um, but yeah, I did mention what my plan was for 2022 in Fire Pro. Yeah, you misremembered what I said about that. Because I didn't promise a reveal so much as I would tell y'all what I. Because in the update, I teased that I had an idea for what I wanted to do in the future. And I said I'd talk about that. And I did. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know how much it would appeal to you, particularly. It's more for E-Fed people. Um, my I was fucking, the Kevin Dunme fucko um, joke button that opens the camera settings where you can switch them on the fly. Well, I was going to expand on that with an overlay that you could overlay text and graphics on, and that sort of thing, without having to use a third, like a OBS or post editing software. And basically, that's what I want to work on next year, 2022 for Fire Pro. Um, so yeah, the guinea pig popped big for it, huh? That match was a 200%, 120%, 6 stars. But yeah, I mean, if you're not like an e-fedder who like records your stuff or shares it through streaming, I couldn't imagine that it would be that interesting to you. Um, but if you are one of those people, then it could be cool, depending on how good of a job I do on it. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, it would involve some Unity stuff and that sort of thing. So new Unity objects and all of that wonderful jazz. Yeah, I know. One of these guys must be the alter. He must be a new gimmick for fucking Okada, and the other one is an alternating gimmick for fucking Kenny Omega or something. The Pacific Northwest Tokyo Dome. God, that guy is a tool. Not a big Meltzer fan these days. Alright, so if nobody has any other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. I have been answering this stuff for about 2.5 hours now, so. I'm guessing you're a Jim Cornette fan? Yeah, I like Cornette. I think that he makes a lot of good points. The thing that I always hate is that people like to take things that he says out of context and make him sound like he's inconsistent or whatever. But if you like actually listen to him regularly, like what he says is fairly consistent, and he always backs up his opinions. If you don't like his opinions, that's fine, but it's hard to argue that what he is saying is wrong. You can be willing to overlook the problems that he has with a lot of stuff, but he can't. So it's not like, and it's not like the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I feel like a lot of what he says is valid, and I tend to agree with it. I'm actually probably a little harder to please than he is, because I don't care for a lot. Even the modern stuff that he's watching that he ends up liking, I generally don't like still. Aside from that Walter match that he was big on, I liked that. That was good. Yeah, and I mean, not only are his opinions grounded, but they're grounded with experience. I mean, that's the thing. We can all talk shit, all the shit we want about wrestling, but very few of us have any experience or have. We all pretend like we know what's going on because we have access to dirt sheets and shit, but we don't. Like, we don't. It's all third hand at best. You know what I mean? And so he's got a much better grasp what what he is saying and why he is saying it than the people who dislike what he is saying and are just fans. You know, so he's made a lot of money in wrestling. So he's obviously knows about, he knows what works and what doesn't. Oh yeah, no, Brian Last is definitely not always in Jim's corner when it comes to what they enjoy and what they like. Brian is way more open minded to the female stuff. He doesn't hate Kenny Omega. I mean, there it's a good balance. I just don't. Like I said, I just don't like it because the people who really, really think that he's like a problem for wrestling and whatever, I don't know how to phrase it, tend to be the sort of people who can't back up their own stuff. Like, they can't refute anything he says because they just take, without just pulling shit out of context, or, you'll see it on the Mod Pack Discord all the time. I like Taquan, but he's real bad about this, where he just pulls something that Jim Cornette says out of context, like it's somehow going to discredit all of the other things that he said, by saying like, oh well, he's just some idiot who thinks that fucking Adam Cole is the greatest wrestler ever, but he hates fucking the Bucks. It's like, no, if you listen to like, if you've been listening to him, he thinks that what Adam Cole was doing in NXT was very good. Not that Adam Cole himself is necessarily like one of these, like a prodigy of wrestling or anything, but the way that he was being used in the place that he was put in and the matches that he was having were solid in NXT, And so you get these people who just can't. They like to pull shit out of context and turn it into this big fucking thing where, like, oh, especially just to goad me because I don't like anything like that they like, and it bugs them. Apparently, I don't know. I can't. Everybody wants to be like, well, just let people like what they like, and it's like, they're free to like what they like. Let me dislike what I fucking dislike, you assholes. Yeah. I mean, the thing with and Adam Cole is doing Buck shit now, and he doesn't like it. It's not like he's still fucking defending Adam Cole and being like, Adam Cole is a great wrestler, the Young Bucks just suck. It's like, now that Adam Cole is doing the same shit that the Young Bucks are doing, he's like, Jesus Christ, Adam Cole fucking, I don't want to see this guy anymore. Like, what the fuck? He either needs to get back on to the level that he was on, or get him on the fuck off my TV. And I agree. I don't have any interest. I didn't like Adam Cole in NXT for what it's worth. I think I'm a lot harder to please than Jim Cornette is. But again, I don't have the inside knowledge that he does. So I can tell you what I feel and whatever. And I feel like if you've ever argued with me on the Discord about wrestling, I feel like most of what I say I can back up fairly well. And it's not too... I'm not making any kind of outrageous leaps of logic or anything like that. Although some of the same people who pull Cornette out of context will pull things that I say out of context, and then just do things like, well, if that's what you think, you should just watch MMA. And it's like, come on, you can't be that fucking stupid. Like, I know you're fucking... I know that you disagree with me, but we're not talking about MMA, we're talking about wrestling, so things in the context of wrestling, anyway, just, there's a whole lot of stupidity in the argument a lot of the time. So, but yeah, I'm a Cornette fan, I'll admit it. I mean, I don't always agree with everything that he says, but I also tend to find myself agreeing with him more than disagreeing with him. So. And honestly, these days I find myself agreeing with Cornette about like the modern product and stuff, but he's finding more and more stuff to like that like I said, I don't necessarily share the opinion, unfortunately. Like, I'd like to like more stuff than I do, to be honest. I don't like the idea of being a lapsed fan, but in a lot of aspects I am. Like, I still try, but there's just nothing sucking me in anymore. Like, the booking on all of the major wrestling shows is bad. There is no booking in indie wrestling. Like, I'm sorry, there's just not anymore. It's just spots and matches for spots. And so, like, that's just, it's never going to be my thing. Like, you're never going to get me to fucking watch, like, what the fuck is that, like, fucking First Pro Wrestling or Game Changer Wrestling or any of that. That shit is garbage. There's no reason for it. It's trash on every level. There's nothing going on there. Mentally, physically, it's for fucking degenerates, and there's just nothing to it. But on the mainstream stuff, there's nothing going on either. The booking is fucking terrible on both in both AEW and WWE. The booking is bad in Japan. Um, they're reliant on way too many, or they had been. I don't know about now after COVID and stuff. I haven't kept up too much. Um, but they were relying on way too many fucking indie darling US guys. So that was trash. And I mean, even the homegrown stars like Naito and Okada that they were pushing seemed like, I don't know, they're just not there for me. Like, the last group of guys who were there were Nakamura and Tanahashi, and and then like basically they just all the Japanese promotions just shit the bed after that stuff, after that generation. To me, like, the guys that they decided to push were mid card guys at best, and now all of a sudden they're main eventing, and you've got people like fucking Dave Meltzer telling you that if you don't vote for Okada on his first ballot, that like, have no understanding of modern wrestling or blah blah blah. And it's like, well, maybe we understand it, we just don't fucking like it, anyway. Anyone ever watch F is for Family? I feel like when I have this argument, you ever watch that episode where Kevin is showing his dad the Shire of Frodo band in the car, and he's like, and he's like, yeah, no, I understand. It's bullshit. And he's like, no, Dad, like, a lot of people think that the first time they hear prog, and he's like, nah, I gotta, like, I've been around a long time and I know bullshit when I hear it, It's the same fucking thing with modern wrestling. Like, you've got a whole bunch of people who like it and are trying to convince you that it's not bullshit, but it's like, look, I know bullshit when I fucking see bullshit, and this is fucking bullshit. So, it's like, if you can like bullshit, that's cool. Like bullshit. I'm in some ways I'm envious of you being able to enjoy that bullshit. But it's still bullshit. I've argued for years now that it's not pro wrestling. It's not even sports entertainment anymore. It's kind of even gone past that into, like, I don't even know what, it's like post wrestling. It's like wrestling that is self-aware of all of its tropes and all of its pretense and everything, and has somehow turned all of those tropes and pretenses into a parody or a spoof or whatever on what they used to mean, to create something that uses the old pro wrestling to make something new. I don't know. It's just not wrestling anymore. Like, all of the things that made it wrestling are gone. And it's like, it's got some similarities because it obviously came from pro wrestling, but what pro wrestling was and what is happening now are two completely different things, because all of the things that were important in pro wrestling are now only used as parodies or jokes about, like, what wrestling used to be. And, I don't want to watch post wrestling. It's just not interesting to me. I get it. I just don't find it good. And if you like post wrestling, if you think that it's cool, like, and you like being in on the joke and in on the, like, the winks and the nods and the shirking of pretense and all of that stuff, cool. I don't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't like Die Hard very much either if, every time fucking there was an explosion, somebody came on screen and was like, this is carefully choreographed, and, it's like, no, that wouldn't be fucking good. No one would watch movies that were like that, So why do we accept it in wrestling when essentially they're doing the same thing? They're pointing out the fact that it's not, that everything is not what it seems, and it's like, again, it's turned into a dance routine. And that's just not my thing. I don't watch figure skating. I don't watch the Olympic floor routines, and I'm not gonna watch fucking them do it in a wrestling ring, because that's what it is. That's what they're doing, and it's painfully obvious now because they don't. Again, they've given up on any pretense that it's a competition in order to be able to do cooler looking shit. And I don't even begrudge people that think that it looks cool. Like, yeah, those things are incredibly athletic and they can look very impressive, but that doesn't make them interesting, especially when you see it so often. Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid, we look back on that and everybody's like, oh, that's a great, some amazing stuff. It was amazing because it was unique. Now everyone wrestles like that, and it's like that's just not that special anymore. And so who fucking cares? It's all throwaway, just, Well, I mean, the promos and the stories are good, but that another issue that I have with a lot of wrestling is that the promos and the stories have just gotten too stupid too. I mean, keep it focused on wrestling. Keep it real. Keep it grounded. I don't need all of the crazy bullshit. That was what made the stories that we think of when you think about some of the most iconic storylines in wrestling from the past, like pre-Attitude Era, because Attitude Era is really when the stuff that I'm going to talk about starts. So you've got Hogan and Andre. What did that focus around? It focused around Andre being Hogan's friend, and so Hogan not wanting to give Andre a title shot because they're friends, and Andre felt like he was being kept down by Hogan. Those sort of things. It revolved around fucking wrestling. It wasn't like, oh my god, Hulk Hogan smashed my video arcade machine and I'm pissed. It's like, nah, that wasn't a thing that happened then because that's fucking stupid, God damn it, Rowdy Piper wrecked my mom's minivan. It's like, nah, that wasn't a thing. No one would ever, if you tried to put that on the air, people would have been like, what the fuck? Like, this is fucking dumb. Fuck you. And it was like that everywhere. Like, if you think, and it's, like, you go back to, even you move out of the WWE and you look at, fucking Ric Flair and Harley Race, Flair for the Gold, Starrcade. It's about Flair chasing a title. It's about wrestling. The storyline was built around wrestling. Even when things went a little weird, like, okay, so you got fucking DiBiase Duggan from Mid-South. Great fucking feud. They did some things that were a little more, I believe that Duggan or DiBiase trashed one of the car, and it was a big deal. Like, there were, they, that kind of thing wasn't done all of the time. There was situations where they were jumped outside of wrestling, and that's why they couldn't appear, or, but it's still focused around the wrestling, the matches, the chase for a victory, for titles, for, now it's just like, it's all fucking stupid. None of it makes any fucking sense. And the Attitude Era is to blame for this. Backstage stuff is to blame for this. Like, I'm fine with, like, backstage interviews and stuff, like how they used to do them. They'd have an actual interviewer, talk to somebody backstage. That's fine. But skits and, segments and shit like that's fucking dumb. That was what killed wrestling for me. The NWO. Fuck that. That was trash. Then the Attitude Era. Trash. ECW. Garbage. It's all stupid. Like, they wanted to just bring it to, like, levels where it didn't need to be. I get that era sold well. Like, my personal preference and what is popular, I get that, I may be a little more hardcore than the average fan, so the Attitude Era is, and honestly, I'd take the Attitude Era over what they're doing now, and I think the Attitude Era was crap. So, Kingston and Punk. Somebody asked about what I think about the Kingston and Punk stuff. I like that. I think that they're doing a great job. It's real. It's about Kingston being, it's about Punk thinking that Kingston is still like this lowly guy who doesn't deserve where he, or who isn't worth a shit. And Kingston has obviously moved up since since him and Punk have interacted. And I think that it's wrestling. And then they had that match on the pay-per-view thing that I only saw part of, admittedly. And it was good, because it wasn't like a fucking... It wasn't... they weren't going out there and trying to have like a fucking 5-star Dave Meltzer flippy fucking classic with head drops and... You know what I mean? Like, it was... There was more working and work rate in that match than in any of the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega or, that Kenny Omega Adam Page match. There was more working and work rate in the CM Punk and fucking Eddie Kingston fight than there was in 4 fucking Kenny Omega Adam Page matches. It just... That match was just... It's modern wrestling. It was moves and moves and moves. And people are like, oh, well, they built that story up for years. It's like, poorly. Poorly. They basically fucking made Adam Page into like a guy that you're just like, God, this again? What the fuck? Why? And that was your reaction to him. And then they put him in there with the champion. It's like, you're not building anything up. You're just acting like the whole thing is nonsensical. What are you building? You're building that he's a drunk? Well, he didn't do anything to stop being a drunk. He just fucking suddenly wasn't a drunk. As somebody who comes from an alcoholic family, that isn't the way that alcoholism works. So it's unbelievable. It's fucking stupid. It's just dumb. It's not good booking. It's fucking stupid. It's not foresight or long-term booking. It's just some asshole looking to fucking figure out a way to pass his 2 hours on fucking cable television every week because he fucking ran out of things. He booked a year worth of his fantasy fed in his goddamn basement or whatever the fuck. And I'm not cornetting here. He's admitted to doing notebooks of fantasy feds. We all probably did it. But as someone who did it myself, how often did you get past a year of booking your fantasy fed? It rarely ever fucking happened. Because you'd get bored with it and you'd move on to book another fantasy fed. And that's what happened here. He had fucking ideas for a little bit of time, and then suddenly he's fucking done with his notebook and he has no fucking idea what to do. So he's just throwing shit at the wall. And anyway, so yeah, it's like that match was... It was a match. Like, what I saw of it wasn't even like the worst. It's not offensively bad. It didn't interest me at all, but it's not good. And meanwhile, it got, 5.5 stars? Something stupid like that. Anyway. But it's like, there was more work rate, and that's what people love to latch onto in that Punk and Kingston fight than there was in any of those matches, just because it was actual working. Like, they were convincing you that they were fucking fighting, that they were going at each other. Their promos built up to it. It was that's working. That's work rate. Being able to do moves is just being able to do moves. That's not work rate. That's what people on the internet seem to fucking miss the point of. It's like, great. Fucking Jack Evans can do fucking all sorts of flippy bullshit. That doesn't make him a fucking amazing worker. And no offense to Jack Evans. I know I made jokes about his run-in with the police in Mexico on the Discord the other day. But I mean, I don't know the guy. I had nothing against him. But I've watched his matches, and they're not... I mean, he can fucking flip with the best of them. But that doesn't make him an amazing worker. He can't tell a story. He just flips. He can... You can gif him and stick him on your Instagram. But that doesn't necessarily mean very much, especially since, you're going to put a new GIF up the next week, and everyone's going to forget the GIF you put up the week before. So, and I think that's my biggest issue with wrestling, is that it's all spots for spots' sake, and it's all fucking trying to get the next viral thing so that you get indie bookings. And I don't care. I don't give a fuck about what your move looks like. If you can't follow it up with something that makes sense, if you can't execute it in a way that makes sense, who fucking cares? There are like fucking Shaolin performance kung fu guys who can do things that make you guys look like fucking, like fucking uncoordinated fucking infants. So, like, what's the point if that's all you got to offer? You're not good at it, or you're not at the top level of it. You're just some indie douchebag doing flips. And if we wanted to see like choreographed fucking craziness, like I said, go watch a fucking Shaolin performance. That shit is nuts. Way more nuts than the pro wrestling stuff. So yeah, it's just, I don't, if you can't tell a story, you can't work a match, you have no psychology, and your whole thing is just, look at all the cool moves I do. Zack Sabre Jr., here's a perfect example, and he doesn't flip, but it's the same shit. Look at all the cool moves I can do, but none of them mean anything, none of them make any sense, a lot of them are too convoluted to be believable. He's the same as fucking the Young Bucks, but he just uses different moves. It's the same crap. He's not good. He's just overly complicated and does a lot of flashy shit. And it's like, well, who cares? Flashy shit is only interesting when it's not sandwiched in between other flashy shit. If everyone owned a Lamborghini wouldn't be that interesting. Yeah, Hogan versus Andre was one of the worst matches ever, but we still fucking talk about it. Like, from a technical standpoint, that match was terrible. Andre was fucking dying of back problems. Hogan was Hogan. He did Hogan stuff, and Hogan stuff works. Honestly, Hogan worked. Hogan was fine. I have nothing against Hulk Hogan. I know that that's a sin to say in the internet, but Hogan did exactly what Hogan needed to do to get where Hogan needed to be. And people reacted to it, and it worked. But his stuff was never going to be like technically fucking amazing. And it didn't need to be. But Andre was fucking dying of his back problems and his hips and his knees and his legs, and so yeah, that match was not a fantastic wrestling match from any stretch of the imagination, but the build to it was fucking amazing. The interest that it had and the hold that it had on people was fucking huge. That was where I got into wrestling, was the build up to that match, like 1986, 87-ish, And so that was, I can tell you from, granted I was like 5 or 6, and so like I can tell you that, like, from what I remember of that was a huge deal. That was emotional, and it gripped you and made you interested in it. So really, when you think about it that way, was it really one of the worst wrestling matches ever? Like, technically it wasn't good, but we still talk about it. It still drew more. Hogan and Andre drew more money than anybody since fucking, The Rock or fucking Steve Austin left wrestling. So, and what is wrestling if it isn't your ability to connect with fans and get them to draw money, and, So, if you don't, CM Punk is not an amazing technical worker. Let's face it, he's not. Neither is Eddie Kingston. But that match was great. They did what they needed to do, and the promos to it and the build up to it is good. And And that's what's important. And I think if they did more, and people liked it. It's kind of ironic because everybody tells me when I bring up like older wrestling, they're like, well, no, we can't go backwards. No one would be interested in watching wrestling from the past. But then when you have wrestling from the past, like that Punk in Kingston or Walter and Ilya in NXT, where it's like, they built that match up in a way that was a lot like old wrestling, and they weren't doing just spots for spots' sake. They worked the match like it was, like it meant something, and the psychology was there. When you get that, it's so people do latch onto it. People like it because it's good. It works, but everyone still holds on to this idea that, well, we can't go back to that. No one would like it. It's like, yes, they would. They would, and they do, and they have. But the problem is that no, there are so few wrestlers who can do that now because, from what I've been told by people who are training and what I've seen of training and all that, people aren't being trained in the way they should be. It's just they're trained to take moves and to do moves. They're not taught to think about why they're doing anything. And some people will be like, well, my trainer taught me that. It's like, did he really, or did he just kind of mention it? And I'm not trying to shit on anybody's training or anybody's trainer. And I'm not trained, so this is all secondhand. So take it with whatever you need to take it with. But from what I understand, that is kind of what it is. It's like, yeah, it gets brought up, almost sort of out of an obligation to bring it up. But it doesn't ever seem to be the focus. And if it's not the focus, then what's the fucking point? Like, yeah, you're going to learn to do moves because you want to learn to do moves. You need to be taught how to fall in different ways to not hurt yourself, but you don't need to be taught how to do moves. You'll pick that up. You need to be taught how to work, how to think about wrestling like it's, like what you're doing matters, and why are you doing this, and why does it fit in this part of the match? Why should I be doing this, or why should I not be doing this? That's what needs to be taught. That's what you need to learn in a wrestling school, and that's not what's being taught. What's being taught is moves. And so, yeah, you're never going to get... That's why wrestling won't go back to what wrestling should be. It's not because people don't enjoy it anymore, because clearly people do. Because when wrestling matches happen amongst all of the fucking dancing and the bullshit, people react to them. They like them. Those are the matches that generally stick out. But because so few people care to learn that style of wrestling, because it's not gifable, it's not going to make them go viral, it just is what it is. Anyway, so this is how these usually go. If somebody gets me worked up on this shit, and I just fucking rant about it for... But yeah, I try to rationalize a Young Bucks match and say, well, yeah, that double powerbomb Tiger Driver into a flaming table should have ended the match, but the partner interrupted the pin. That's kind of the way I feel about that kind of stuff, too. It's like, why are you doing that if it's not going to finish the match? What's the point? Because then you either have to do something bigger than that to finish the match, otherwise the finish is going to feel like a flop, or, you've basically wasted something that would have been a big deal as just a throwaway spot. And that's, I don't understand that shit. Why? Why are you throwing away all of these spots for nothing? No one is going to remember it because there's so many of them. Like, fucking work a fucking headlock. Watch a Johnny Valentine match, for Christ's sakes. I feel like a lot of people shit on old wrestling because they do work holds a lot, and they're like, "Oh, this is boring. All they're doing, grab a headlock." But it's like, just watch the match. They're not just grabbing the headlock. There's stuff going on. It's subtle. They're getting people into it, and they're setting stuff up, and it's good. Like, there's real psychology there. They start small. They start with wrestling, then they build to a little bit of cheating, then they build, and then the place pops when the heel gets his comeuppance. It's a formula, and it's a formula that works. And unfortunately, people have gotten to the point where we're like, oh, we don't need like we've evolved past this formulaic wrestling. It's like, no, that's stupid. That's just dumb. It's like those people who think that fucking human beings can ever evolve past war and shit like that. It's like, no. Like, that's dumb. You're dumb and you don't understand how fucking things work. Or that, like, complete equality is ever going to be a good thing and not just a power vacuum. It's like, you don't understand the psychology behind these things. It's like, it sounds great on paper and it sounds wonderful when you're saying it out loud, but if you think about what these things that you're saying actually mean and what the implications of them actually are, they're not necessarily desirable. Anyway, so I just ranted for an extra like 35 minutes. And I mean, the Miro thing was brought up about how he's got the weak neck and targeting a body part, and that'll be great if they don't fuck it up. Will they fuck it up? I don't know. It's still ongoing. There's a lot of potential for them to fuck it up. They bring in fucking Marco Stunt and have him work the neck or something fucking stupid like that, just to prove that he's got a weak neck. It's like, you can prove that without fucking burying the guy, you dumb assholes. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. They're gonna fucking have him tap out to fucking Riho or something. I don't know. Well, she used a neck move. I could just see the fucking part of the Discord that defends everything AEW does right now. Well, he's got a weak neck and she used a neck lock. It's like, oh my god. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, but why? Like, it's like, so we were talking about fucking Marco Stunt beating Brock Lesnar yesterday. It's like, yeah, you could probably find a way to make it make sense in a storyline sort of way without being offensively insulting or anything else about why Marco Stunt could beat Brock Lesnar. Interference, a severe injury, something like that. But why in the fuck are you putting Marco Stunt in the ring with Brock Lesnar and having Marco Stunt be the one that fucking capitalizes on that fucking thing? Why? What is the fucking point of that? Like, why would you use him in that fucking position? There are plenty of other guys that you could tell the same story with that is less retarded. So yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens with the Miro thing. Like, that's fine, but if they fuck it up, then it will just be another fucking missed opportunity, and there's been a lot of those in AEW. Okay, so I am going to get off now. My throat is on fire because I have a cold and I'm now basically yelling about modern wrestling. I'm fucking telling kids to get off my grass and screaming at the clouds. So I am going to sign off. But if you want to have me scream about modern wrestling some more, feel free to invite me onto your podcast or whatever the fuck. I'm around. I'm easy to find. I'm not shy. So thank y'all for showing up and for listening to me fucking vent and rant for the last 40 minutes. And for the Fire Pro questions before that. And I will catch you guys all later. And I will be in the Discord off and on for the rest of the day. So if you need to get a hold of me, hit me up in there.